That was one of the things I want to talk to you about is how heavy lifts and handstand push-ups go away very quickly if you don't train them. That's something that's my big takeaway from the CrossFit Games Open this year, by the way.
I was really surprised. So what did you get on that workout? Because I saw the video of you failing 185
Whoa.
and I was surprised.
So,
but I agree with you. I agree with you though. Like, to be fair, I think that, like, you're obviously very fit and you've been training, but those are, I think, very specific movements that if you're not training in those, they will go away. I completely agree with that.
dude, it's so funny. So I do the first open workout, which for those of you who are unfamiliar in the CrossFit Games, the open was like, it was like a row and then some toes to bar, and you ended up doing muscle ups and you get back to the row. And I put up a score that was like not that far from like what my score was 10 years earlier. So I felt pretty good about like my fitness. I was kind of like, all right, feeling good. I put up my score, felt good. I go down south and I roll jiu-jitsu at Victory MMA, which I don't know if we talked about this that much, but that's Jocko Willick's gym. And I ended up hurting my knee a little bit. So when I got back up, I made some excuses, but my knee was legitimately messed up. And so I didn't do workout number 2. And then workout number 3 comes up, which is snatches and handstand push-ups and whatever else. And I got one snatch at 185. Now, I couldn't squat snatch because my knee was messed up. I'm going to blame it on my knee. But to be completely honest, dude, I was just messed up, bro. I get off the handstand push-ups and I get to the bar and I just fail. Hey, that's the video you're talking about. I finally get one and then time hits. And it was because my handstand push-ups were just gone, dude. If they were kipping, I would have been golden. But because I haven't been training the prerequisite strength on just pure strict handstand push-ups, and because I haven't been snatching heavy, that workout just smashed me. And so I thought it was a good one for the open.
How much do you think the line had a difference? Because some people were saying that it got you closer to the wall, as opposed to being a little further away. Do you think that made any difference or not really?
No, dude, for me, bro, I was doing singles on those handstand push-ups from 10 to 20. I mean, my shoulders were just fatigued and I came off of it and I had like no time to hit 185. Like, honestly, I was shocked that people finished 185 and 225. And maybe it's just like a reflection on where my fitness is at right now. But like, I was shocked to hear that people were able to get 12 and 9 or whatever it was, because that bar felt so damn heavy for me coming off handstand push-ups. I think it was also because I just didn't have that much time to do the snatches because I just was stuck on those handstand push-ups. So they went away real quick, man.
Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah, I did the first workout as well because that's such a fun test, and then I bowed out from there. I had no interest in doing the second one, and then by the time the third one came around, I was just like, well, I didn't do the second one. But the workouts were cool, man. I went to Friday Night Lights every night at this local gym here in Seguin, Aftermath Strength, and 2 things. One, this gentleman came up to me and said he's a fan of the podcast, so if he's listening, shout out to our Seguin fans of the podcast. That was cool. It's always cool to hear that people are enjoying the podcast and listening. That always makes me super, super pumped. So that was the first thing. The second thing, so the reason I went every Friday was because my dad is super into it. My dad is like, he's got like the CrossFit shirt with his last name printed on the back, and he's like getting after it every weekend. And it was just so fun to go watch him every week. But the funny thing is, on the last day, because one thing that the gym was doing is they have a TV and they were playing like old CrossFit games every week. So I walk in and I see you like back in, I think it was a while. I think it was like the 2013 or no, not 2013, 2015 or something. But it was like an old video of you doing like singles on toes to bar in Carson. Like, it was like some long chipper with toes to bar. I don't know if you remember it, but it's so crazy to see how the sport has evolved in that now, to your point, even if you get 225-pound snatches for the men, that's a good score, but it's not like a top in the world score. You have to finish that workout. And, you look back then and the people at the games, doing singles on toes to bar. It's crazy how elevated the sport has gotten. It's really crazy when you think about it.
Dude, think about this. In 2009, I snatched 225 and for a 1 rep max. And I took second. This one guy, Mo Kelsey, hit 230. That was the best snatch out of anybody in the 2009 CrossFit Games. I did 225, or maybe it was 2009. Yeah, it had to have been 2009. And just think about that. Now these guys are repping that out for 9 reps at the end of a long ass workout, and it's not even a thing. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that 30 times for time like Isabel. It's crazy. Yeah, that's how the sport's evolved, and it was eye-opening for me. I'm not gonna blame it on the knee. I mean, my knee was hurt. It still is a little bit hurt. I'm recovering though. But yeah, it is what it is. Oh man. Yeah, that bothered me. I might need to do that workout again sometime, but it's just, dude, it's just a good testament to like, Sean Woodland was at our gym the other day and he was doing the workout and he was using this term, you can't expect results you haven't earned, or you can't
Yeah,
expect.
it's the saying is you can't complain for not getting the results you didn't work for. I think
That's what, yeah, exactly. So like, I can't complain for not getting the results I didn't
Sure.
work for. Like, dude, I haven't snatched 185. Like it's just, I stick to mainly lighter loads and I do our class workouts. And so that one caught me, man, but it was still a good time nonetheless. Like, dude, we
sure.
did it as a group, we did it as a coaches and we put out session plans for gym owners. It was fun. It was great.
What's your heaviest snatch of all time? You
300.
remember? Oh, you got 300?
Yeah.
Nice.
So, oddly enough, I was stuck at like 240 for like years. And then a coach came in and he took me down to a barbell only for like a month, only a barbell. That's it. Nothing else. I wasn't allowed to lift over that unless it was like a workout. And if I was practicing position, I only used a barbell. And I ended up then getting back on the barbell a month later. And that's when I started this trajectory towards that 300 mark, where I was able to hit, 275 consistently, rep. And it was because I went down to a barbell and started to learn how to connect better. So it's just a good step of like, hey, you might need to take a step back to take 5 steps forward. So if you're stuck on an Olympic lift and you're listening to this podcast, you might need to take a step back to take a step forward.
And now's the perfect time to do so, right? Like if you were frustrated with, how short or how, you didn't get maybe the weight that you wanted to, maybe on the clean thruster or that snatch, now's a really good time to, take a step back, recover a little bit, also work on some technique and positioning. So some good points there. Let me ask you a loaded question. What do you think
Go ahead.
Loaded question. What do you think my heaviest snatch of all time was?
235.
Oh, wow. Yeah, exactly. 235. That's impressive. I thought you were going to like way underestimate me, which is usually what you do.
I normally underestimate you, but I saw your fitness the other day. No, I think, 235 is that mark where, your technique was probably getting pretty good because you were training a lot. But you're not, back then, especially, you weren't like huge. So a 235 was a pretty strong, I imagine your overhead squat at the time was probably like 265. And so, right. I mean, I don't know if I was about right, but your snatch should be somewhere around, I mean, the deadlift's not going to be the issue. It's going to be your receiving position and obviously the in between, of course.
Yeah, I'd be lucky. Dude, I would have had no chance with 185 on that workout, especially knowing that you failed it. Oh man, because it's so funny. You look at these workouts on paper and you're like, in your head, you're like, yeah, like can't be that hard. But boy, it's different.
Dude, it's because the pressing and like I was just fatigued. I walked up the bar, I wasn't really thinking much, and it just it is what it is. Dude, so the other day I was working with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and it really opened my eyes. So for any parent out there, I think buying a PVC pipe and working on some foundational lifts with your kids, it was just shocking to me, Gabe. I know I totally switched gears, but it's just the way I was thinking. It was shocking to me that the kids I was working with, they were actually really good athletes. All of them, all the kids I was working with were really good athletes, like really good at basketball, really good at football, etc. But all of a sudden I asked them to get into a deadlift position. They could not connect their brain with their body. And it was just a really good lesson for me that even if you don't believe that you should be loading up your kids tremendously, I'm not saying you have to go for a 1 rep max. Light loads, I was using a 15-pound barbell, was the heaviest item I used with them. But man, it's just the value of like, they're learning so much in their sport. but taking them off the field and having them learn something else and what that does neurologically, connecting their brain with their body, and now how they can connect. And not to mention, when they get to high school, they're going to go to strength programs. So if we could start laying some framework now, it was just super rewarding. So anybody out there has kids, grab some PVC pipes, risk of injury is almost zero, and start teaching some foundational work. You know, I did the push-up, the hollow rock, the deadlift, and the back squat. And I thought those were really good places to start. Totally pivoted our conversation, but I just wanted to say, get some PVC pipe.
No, that's good stuff, man. Right now we have Shay, our 3-month-old, working on tummy time, and that's pretty much it. Trying to get kids neck going.
Please, with Shay, do not grab a PVC pipe and attempt to lift. We're talking about 6th, 7th, 8th graders is really a good place to start, because they're going to go into high school and there's going to be, 60 kids to one strength coach. I think it's just a good way to kind of develop.
Sure.
I talked to the kids about what a hook grip was. And I was like, dude, when you guys get to your strength class, ask about a hook grip and your coach will probably go freak out, because not many people know what a hook grip is, So
it's a good tip. It's a good life lesson is learn the hook grip. Switching gears again. Were you going to say something?
No, I had a good time working with the kids, and it just was opening my eyes this last week to the importance of it. So this upcoming week, actually, staying on that thread, we're hosting the Shamrock Row event. So all the kids are going to be doing a row-a-thon, and I'll have to get back to you on how that goes. That'll be a lot of fun.
Are you going to be rowing as well, or?
I'm just coaching it. So we'll bring, we're basically, we didn't program rowing in the gym that day. So I could take the rowers, bring them to the kids' school, and do a row-a-thon. The kids it's a little bit different than like a walk-a-thon.
That's cool, man. Yeah, that's getting people moving and moving for a good cause. Always love that.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
I want to go on a little bit of a rant here, because this has been this has been really bugging me, really bugging me.
Should I put on my EBITDA hat?
Yes, you should definitely put on the EBITDA hat. I'm so glad that you ended up getting that. I love that hat. So to be perfectly fair, before I go on this rant, because I would have been one of these people 2 years ago, and I'm glad that I've kind of had the time and been open-minded to different opinions when it comes to nutrition. And now I feel like I have a more nuanced approach to what is a very nuanced topic, right? On this podcast, we talked about how you should never drink oat milk. Oat milk is terrible for you. Seed oils are the worst thing ever.
To be fair, you said that. I said I love oat milk.
Yes,
I hit that Chobani this morning, bro.
And for a while there, I had such a black and white view of, this thing of foods you should have and foods you shouldn't have, to the point where you introducing that stuff ever, even in the slightest bit to your diet, why would you do that? Right. And, looking back on it now, and I think this is naturally kind of, as you mature, as you evolve, as you have, kids and a family, and just really have other things that require your discipline and for you to be really on top of, you need to be flexible with stuff and realize that, the dose makes the poison, and that, no food is healthy or unhealthy outside of the context of a healthy or unhealthy diet. If you are enjoying an oat milk latte with a pastry even, but the rest of your diet is mostly whole foods and well-balanced, that doesn't make that meal unhealthy. It's just kind of what allows you to have a well-balanced, mostly healthy diet. And we can go on about this forever. But what really kind of got me going is a bunch of people throwing their hands up, being so upset that CrossFit has a sponsorship deal with Chipotle. And what they were pointing to was the fact that Chipotle uses seed oils to make their food. And, they point to fitness influencers like Carnivore MD, who's really big on the carnivore diet. And he's always posting about how these things are going to kill you, so on and so forth. And listen, I think there are some merits to trying some of these diets that are restrictive. I know you've tried carnivore. I know we have Frankie, a coach, that has tried it, had really good success with, just finding something that works for them, and that's fine. But I think that when it comes to nutrition, there's this really slippery slope of putting out that like, this is the one way to do it. And this is like good for you. And this is bad for you. And the reason the Chipotle thing really bugged me is because as far as like food options go for people that are trying to be good about their nutrition, objectively, Chipotle is a great option.
It's a phenomenal option.
period.
Like, what other mainstream food option is better than Chipotle? Like,
it's really hard to find something better. Like, you can go to Chipotle and most things can be high protein. You can get some veggies in there. It's all minimally processed. And sure, they use seed oils to cook their food. And like, here's the thing too, like if you listen to some people, like Lane Norton is a great follow. I point them in his direction. He was actually on Huberman's podcast, and I just listened to this because I wanted to make sure I got this right. But as far as like the actual research that's out there on some of these seed oils, you know, a big reason why people claim that they're really bad for you is because over the past 10 years or whatever, we've started to consume more seed oils, and obviously people are getting more obese, they're getting more sick, so on and so forth. But a big reason for this, or what some people say a big reason for this, is just because they're fats and they're calorie heavy. So people are eating more calories, and it's really hard to go into the science and say, hey, it is absolutely the fact that it's these oils that are causing all these issues, and not just the fact that because these oils are in a lot of foods are therefore more calorie dense, and therefore because people are eating more calories, they're running into all these problems.
right.
And the fact that anyone tries to be black and white about it's just this versus it's just that, because I'm not saying that it's just calorie in, calorie out. I think that that's equally as bad of an unnuanced approach to nutrition as saying, well, there's good foods and bad foods. Like, this is very complex. And at the end of the day, people just have to find what works for them and what allows them to be consistent and not feel like they're like gritting their teeth to avoid things that they love and eat things that are quote unquote healthy for them, because you have other shit to worry about. You have kids, you have a job, you have traffic, you have, you know, deadlines to worry about, you know, like, no, it's unrealistic to expect people to like avoid everything that is quote unquote bad for you, especially when now you can find a study or an influencer that will tell you that anything is bad for you. Yeah. Spinach, kale, meat, like you can find someone that's going to tell you that anything is bad for you. So if you're stressing about avoiding everything out there that one study shows might increase your chance of heart disease, cancer, whatever, you're going to be really stressed and have like a terrible time finding something to eat. Anyway, I'm coming to the end of my rant, but it's just, why do people have to be so upset about CrossFit partnering up with Chipotle? Like, a part of it is people just need to find something to be upset about. And another part of it is like, you're so misguided on what is good and what is bad. Like, if I could get the majority of the world to start replacing most of their meals with Chipotle, we'd be in a much better place now. I'm not saying that Chipotle is perfect, but I'm just saying that like, that is not the issue.
Dude, think about it. If you're on a road trip and you had to decide between all the major places you can go to, I'd say in general, the best option you could probably find, I mean, although I'm an In-N-Out burger fan for sure, would be a Chipotle. And I think that, you know, I didn't see too much outrage. I know some people probably got upset about it. I think that what they're upset about is like that Chipotle is kind of more mainstream, and that's okay. Guess what? You want them, Chipotle, to be marketing CrossFit. More people are doing it, and it's a good thing. Like, if you're complaining about Chipotle, like, you got to take a deep breath and just chill for a second. But on the one hand, you know, I was on a call last night with Apogee Strong, which is a group of dads. There were 70 dads on the call, and they were asking me questions about nutrition, about health, about supplements, and I was just sharing my perspective. And I really tried to say, like, dude, like, I've tried all kinds of things. You should go try different things for yourself, and that different things work for different people, and that this is what I'm currently doing, and this is my position on it. But just kind of approaching it with like a level of like, dude, just relax. But I think that what happens is, Gabe, and like looking at your journey, if I had told you that same thing 2 years ago, you probably would have been upset about it. And you were probably, at the time, your mindset didn't allow you to be open enough yet to be, you were in a state where you weren't prepared to take that information, right? Like you weren't ready to hear that type of information. It took you to kind of like evolve, right? Your journey to now be more willing to be more open to it. And that's where some of these people I think are at. And the same thing goes for, I was on another podcast the other day, and they asked me, about how Ava getting sick changed my perspective. And what it taught me a lot was that even though I saw some really bad stuff in the hospital, super bad, I had to realize that, like, to some people, like, if they're getting mad about traffic, to them, maybe that's the worst thing that's ever happened to them in their life. And perception is reality. Like, if that's a really big deal to them, it's a really big deal. But maybe they haven't had enough of life experiences yet. And I hope they never did, to realize, like, that isn't that big of a deal. And when it comes to nutrition, I think you get so engulfed in, like, what you're reading that sometimes you stop to take a deep breath and just say, hey man, like, we're going to be okay. Like, and I think it just takes time to get past that, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I think that aside from time, though, because I do think time is a part of it, but there's going to be a lot of people that feel a certain way, especially about nutrition, but a lot of other things that are polarizing and people feel strongly about, that will for years stay with their heels dug in and what they believe in. And I think that, time is a piece of it, but another time is just being open-minded to hearing the other side of it. Because I very much because nutrition is such a big part of, like, what I like to talk about and what I like to feel knowledgeable about. When I believed that these things were as bad as, some people say they are, and you should avoid them at all costs, I proactively went out and found the Lane Nortons, the E.C. Sinkowskis, like very respectable people in the nutrition space that I know don't feel the same way that I felt about certain foods. And I took a deep dive into their podcasts, their newsletters, and their stuff, even though they completely went against what I currently believed. Because if you don't do that, if you don't at least listen or read what's on the opposite side of what you feel so strongly about, how are you ever going to, like, expand how you view those things, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, that's the missing step in a lot of people, is that they'll just see that, well, I know that that person says that this is healthy for you, and I believe it's unhealthy, so I'm not even going to give them a chance. And I'm just going to listen and follow the people that agree with me. I think that that's where you get stuck in this, like, now it's been 10, 20 years, to your point of time. All the time can pass, but if you're not open to those ideas, you're never going to change your mind. And I think that that's a shame.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. It kind of brings me back. Chris Rock put out a new special. I don't know if you saw it.
I watched it. Yeah.
And it's called Selective Outrage. And it was just interesting. Like, look, take it or leave it. I thought part of it was hilarious. Other parts were, controversial, whatever you want to call it. But some parts of it, like what he was talking about with Elon Musk, oh my God, I was laughing so hard. I don't know if you remember the part where he talks about Elon Musk. I was just laughing my ass off. But he titled it Selective Outrage. And I thought that was interesting how, people get so upset, but they select what they get upset about. I don't know if he necessarily made the point as well as I think he could have, but I get what he was trying to do with the name of the show. If you haven't watched it, it is funny. There are some parts where if you get easily offended, you probably shouldn't watch it. But I thought it was pretty funny overall.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was funny. I enjoyed it. Yeah, a Selective Outrage. It's a perfect name, right? Because the same people that are complaining about CrossFit, having a sponsorship with Chipotle now, were probably people that, like, back in the day were like, paleo is healthy, and you're having, bacon and paleo brownies and paleo this just because it has paleo in front of it, and convincing yourself that that was healthy, right? Like, we were all there, but it's just, it's so silly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, and don't forget, back in 2008 CrossFit Games, Panda Express was a big sponsor. So now we've came a long way from Panda Express to Chipotle, if you ask me. So that's
right.
a much better sponsor. And look, dude, I'm happy for CrossFit. I want them to have more of these big sponsorships because it's only going to be good for everybody else. And if you're out there and you don't believe that, that's unfortunate, because I think that if the goal of Dawn and CrossFit is to get to 30 million people, you need to have big partners like Chipotle get involved. Yeah. Otherwise, you're never going to reach that goal. And yeah, it's good, dude. I thought the Open went really well. I thought that it went really well here at our gyms. It was nice to celebrate that. I think next year we'll have a lot more people do it. This year we had a lot of people do it, but I think next year we'll have even more. And I think we'll continue to be more and more involved with the CrossFit space as things evolve. And I'm excited to see it grow for sure. But I got to heal up this knee. One of the things I want to talk to you about briefly is I'm going to try a new turmeric supplement by Jocko called Jocko like joint warfare or something like that. I'll have to let you know how it goes.
Joint warfare.
It's called joint warfare because I was down at the gym. And by the way, I've never been at a place like this before, dude. Tons of rooms. Everybody's getting after it. It was great. But they but yeah, because I hurt my knee, I'm thinking maybe this joint warfare and some turmeric might help it out. And I'll keep you all posted on the podcast of how my joints feel after a couple of weeks or months using that product. We'll see.
Yeah. For a while, when I was training like a bonehead and just not giving myself ample time to heal, I had some really, really bad knee tendonitis. And I used to make a drink every morning with turmeric. Like I would like put turmeric in a blender and have it as part of like, it had like beet juice and spinach and raw turmeric and ginger that I would like make myself. Dude, I've tried everything.
Yeah, well, I'm at a place where I'm not necessarily trying to like, I just want my joints to feel good. And
oh yeah,
I've had to adjust my RPE. You know, one of the things I actually just did a cup of Khalipa on this. And one of the lessons I learned, and this is like, so it wasn't even like we were having like a meeting or anything, but I was talking about this the other day on a podcast. JP Dinnell, who's part of the Echelon Front team, former Navy SEAL, I'm going to go take one of our leadership summits soon. And he was in San Diego and I was nearby. So I went and trained jujitsu with them and Jocko happened to be there. So I'm rolling with this guy and him and I are going at it pretty hard. And in general, especially Nogi, my RPE is pretty much always 10. It's hard to not go 10, especially Nogi jujitsu, assuming the other person, like you're not flow rolling, like you're actually like real rolls, not. And so I finish a roll and I go sit down against the fence and Jocko happened to be there and we were talking. I was like, hey man, like, what do you split your strength conditioning, CrossFit and jiu-jitsu? Like, how do you balance the two? Because it's something that's been on my mind lately. And he goes, I do both every day, but I do them at less of an intensity than you do. Because he just saw me like getting after it. And it was just a good eye opener for me that if I want to be sustainable for the next, because he's a little bit older than me. If I want to be able to train both often, I maybe need to stop going RPE 10 all the time and adjust it down some days, because otherwise you just get way too beat up, man. I'm just too sore, too messed up. So it was a good, like, I don't even think he even realized what he was saying. But when he said it to me, it's like, that's what I needed to hear, Jocko. Thank you for your kind words.
Wise words from Jason Khalipa. Do not go RPE 10 every day, every workout, because chances are you won't be able to do that for the rest of your life.
Dude, and that's the hard part is like, dude, that's hard for me.
I know, I get it. I get it.
It's hard not to want to throttle every day, but especially if you're doing jiu-jitsu and CrossFit, it's impossible, man. So that was a good eye opener for me with him, was like, hey, dude, like I do both, but not like as wild as you,
For sure. Yeah, it makes sense. What are the chances of us getting Jocko on the podcast? Give me a percentage.
Jocko on the podcast, I'd say 10%. Like in the future,
yeah, like it
maybe more. But right now,
we're sitting at 10%.
I think right now we're sitting at 10%. I think the next step would be if I got on his podcast, I think that would bump up to like 50%.
Okay.
And we'll see. I'd love to have a conversation with him. I think that there's other people though in his leadership team I'd love to have a conversation with, like JP, like Leif, having conversations with them about leadership and lifestyle and things like that. I think would be a lot of fun.
We should do it, man. I love those guys as much as I know following them peripherally, but that's cool, dude.
Yeah. Well, they got good stuff. All right. Well, you got a jam, right?
Yeah. I got a meeting I got to jump to.
Ooh. All right. Well, go crush it. In the future, we'll have some more guests. We got some more people. We got a couple of things going on. It's all good. If you enjoy these episodes, hit us up on social, leave us a rating, review. And we always love hearing from you guys. So appreciate you listening. Gabe, any last words on this one?
If you happen to see me anywhere in Texas or when I'm traveling and you listen to the podcast, please come up to me and tell me. It literally makes my week. Like when someone comes up and they're like,
dude, don't be that guy who just stares. Like I'm telling you, I'll be at airports and people just like stare at me. Like they make it look like they want to fight me. And I'm like, bro, what's the matter? And they'll be like, and then they're like, is it him? Is it not him? Is it him? Anyways, if chances are it's probably Gabe, you can see his lovely hair and his good looks. So say hi to him.
Please say hi. All right, Jay.